Welcome to this session on identifying high ROI agent use cases with configuration mining. Agents are here. Agents are here. Now what do we do? Right? It's all about agents and Agentforce in this particular conference. We keep hearing on LinkedIn, every second post, actually, scratch that, every post is about building agents and AI these days. Agents seem to be everywhere. Where do we start? How do we leverage that? A lot of people struggle with actually finding good agent use cases that they can actually deploy in their orgs and organizations in general. So today I'm going to try to cover how we can get over that bump. In this session, I'm going to show you how you can identify agent use cases for your org in less than 2 minutes, if Wi-Fi allows it. So fingers crossed. I'm Xavier Lishinsky. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Elements.Cloud. And before we talk about agent use cases, let's talk a bit about Agentforce. So we are all talking with the same, about the same concept. What is the power of Agentforce? Why is it so exciting as a technology? There are two things as far as I'm concerned. You have the ability to build conversational agents that can use your automations and objects to make decisions and execute business processes. And actually most demos you see, most marketing materials focus on that, on the conversational agents with building topics and all of that. I think actually there is another part of Agentforce which is extremely powerful, just as powerful, that isn't necessarily talked about as much, which is ability to build smarter, more robust AI workflows with flows in Apex that call prompt templates or agents to execute some semantic AI analysis. And we're going to talk about that difference between a conversational agent and AI workflow because it's actually quite fundamental to finding good use cases. What is an agent? Simply put, an AI agent, to be more precise, is simply a program that autonomously performs tasks and dynamically makes decisions using AI models. And within that, we differentiate, again, conversational agents, an AI agent with a user-facing interface that interacts with natural language, like a chatbot fundamentally, but much smarter. And now, different terminologies being thrown around them in the marketplace. Some people call it headless agents. I prefer the term AI workflow, but fundamentally a back-end AI agent that operates without direct user interaction. Kind of all the magic happens behind the scenes. So, now that we have established that little differentiation, how do we spot agent opportunities? How can we actually look at how our org is configured, or more specifically, our business processes that we run as a company, and go, that's a good agent use case. That's a good agent use case. Oh, that's an AI workflow. This is not trivial, actually. We've been building agents internally on Agentforce for, ever pretty much since it was launched. I've been personally building at Elements.Cloud a lot of capabilities which use a lot of AI, most of them AI workflows. And I've noticed, and I've built more custom GPTs also to help my team internally with various operations that I can count. And I've started noticing over time that there are certain patterns. For instance, the very first agent we built on Agentforce was to help people book a vacation. We chose it because it felt like a low-risk process to try to identify, and if the agent goes haywire, once that happens, no one goes on vacation, right? So business was happy. So we built the agent, it was working, but we've realized at the time that something is off. It is working, we can book vacations, but it is just so much worse than the ScreenFlow that we also had for booking vacations. ScreenFlow was fast, it was doing exactly what we needed. An agent was longer, it was more complex, asking questions, like the whole process was just taking longer. And we thought, well, we built an agent, it's working, but somehow it feels like we should not have built that agent at all. So I'm going to talk about this now. When we think about identifying agent opportunities, and more specifically, When do we apply a conversational agent versus an AI workflow versus, like we have found, where actually a deterministic flow or apex is actually much better to handle the job. How do we make that distinction? As far as I can tell, there are 4 key pieces of information we need to find. Within your business process, what is the trigger for a given step? What are the inputs? In other words, what data is required to perform the step? What sort of reasoning do we need to apply to execute the step? And what is the format of the outcome? It more or less looks like this. If you have a variable, situational, unpredictable trigger, something that user starts a chat, sends an email, something that cannot be predicted, you definitely need some sort of user interface, conversational agent. However, if the trigger is precise, discrete, for instance, and I'm going to show you this in a second, maybe there's some status update in your system, and that would normally trigger a human to perform some step. Oh, maybe that's something actually that we can use an AI workflow for. I'm not going to walk you through all these rules. I've seen a lot of you have taken screenshots of that already. But the point is, good freaking luck. It's not easy. Last week there was architect dreaming here in London. We had a workshop with a dozen or so architects, and we were trying to figure out where in a kind of hypothetical business process we could apply which type of agent. 12 experienced people in the room, 90 minutes. We have come up with 3, but lots of debates. It's like there is this pattern recognition, and everyone can learn it, but it is not trivial. I have seen many people who build conversational agents with a user-facing interface where, quite frankly, an AI workflow, meaning a flow or an apex that strategically uses AI for certain tasks, would do much better. I have seen people build flow. Actually, I've seen ourselves build agents where, again, a flow or an apex or any deterministic automation would be a far better choice. So it's not obvious. And the point is, how do we make sure we pick the right tool for the job? So this is where process configuration mining comes in. So what is process configuration mining? Process configuration mining is capability that technically it's in beta now, but we're launching soon in elements.cloud, which allows us to quickly understand, based on how the org is configured, what is the existing business process, how the org is designed to work. Because let's be honest, understanding your business processes, how your company operates, to identify agent use cases sounds methodologically sensible. But hands up, whose company has a fairly well documented business processes of how we operate? Okay, no one. So it's great to say, we should start with a business process, but hardly anyone has a business process to begin with, or if they do, it's completely out of date. So process configuration mining is about finding what the actual business process is based on how the org is configured today. Think of it as a bit of org archaeology, and then using separate action to identify where, based on these rules, an AI agent could be best applied. It's fundamentally as easy as asking a question and getting the answer. The way this works, and I'm going to demo this in just a second, so you know I'm not full of it. We ask a question, we interpret the question based on the synced Salesforce metadata, dependencies, and permissions. We traverse that soup we call a Salesforce org. We identify what is relevant, what isn't. We explore it, we interpret it as a business process, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. Now let's just hope the Wi-Fi is a bit more stable. Right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick one of my orgs, and I'm going to ask a question. How do we manage customer onboarding? Okay. Now, what has happened? We have scanned through all the objects in this org, and we went based on the name, description, which object or record type seems to be matching that capability I want to understand. In this case, it's a very simple, we have one custom object. The other thing is, if we want to understand the process, we need to understand what is driving that process. For a lot of objects, there's usually a status or stage or some other tick list field that is used to drive the workflow. Now, in this case, it's a very simple custom object. I only have one. In previous demos that I did at TDX in San Francisco, for instance, we were picking opportunity object, and we had like 4. There was stage, there was invoice stage, there was some 2 other status fields related to finance. So, which of the workflows we really want to understand? And that's it. So it's going to think for a minute. While it's doing that, let me quickly describe what you're going to see. You're going to see a business process mapped out in universal process notation. That's it on the screen. That's pretty much the whole methodology. The thing about UPN is one shape to rule them all. Any Lord of the Rings fans in the audience? One shape, no fancy shapes, but the whole purpose is to focus on the text. So we don't want to have a bunch of shapes. We want to have a lot of text. We want to explain what is the trigger on input, what happens, who does that, with what, and what is the outcome of said operation. What we see here is we've got, and let me explain what you're seeing. We have this step, update opportunity record. Opportunity object, we have a bunch of roles here. Opportunity record is updated and stage name is set to closed one. We went through, we have found all of these profiles and permission sets that allow someone to edit the stage field, set it to closed, and then we use also AI to try to interpret what human roles seem to be implied by the set of permissions. So all the permissions that allow to perform this action are listed here, but we only list some of them which we are able to interpret. We have found there is a record triggered flow that runs when opportunity record is updated. It creates onboarding project with account name and owner from the opportunity, and the outcome is onboarding project record created and linked to the opportunity's account and owner. And we can see each one of those things is linked to the metadata, which I can access either in Salesforce setup or in Elements. So that is and by the way, this is a very simple process, which I kind of picked for a reason. Again, in some other cases, we were generating business processes which had 20 different flows, firing when the stage was closed lost, closed won, validation rules. So the point is we're trying to look at the total picture of how your different metadata and automations come together and generate this picture. Now, how can we use that picture, that current business process understanding, to identify agent use cases? I have this business process, and earlier we were talking about AI workflows, conversational agents, workflows. How can we identify which steps of the process could benefit from some help from AI? Okay, let me click a button, and let's wait for the magic to happen. No, that was fast. So let's zoom in and see what came out. We have this step. After opportunity project is created and linked, and with account, name, opportunity, all this other data, the customer success manager, using this onboarding object, needs to receive project details and context from the sales team, and that leads to status update, which is the handoff from sales completed. What does the recommendation say? Trigger for the activity is precise and concrete. It requires fuzzy, unstructured data, notes, links, transcripts. The implied reasoning is to interpret and extract relevant project details from potentially unstructured sources. The outcome is precise because, do we have everything we need for a handoff? Yes, okay, off to the next step. For this reason, this little, let's call it the copilot, agent checker, agent maybe, or actually an AI workflow for being more precise, thinks there's 85% confidence that this step could be accelerated with an AI workflow, not a conversational agent. But if we look over here, it's also going, do we have any conversational agents in here? No, we don't. Actually, interestingly, in one case, it has decided, in this here, we could probably use the flow. So the point is, all this kind of complex reasoning and methodology of how to identify conversational agents, AI workflows, or deterministic automations is something that is now automated. And that's a key thing. People, when they approach building and designing agents, a lot of them, their first mindset is conversational agent. I need to build an agent force. I need to build a topic. I need to do all this test center stuff. I need to, this needs to be conversational. Actually, it doesn't. Most of the time, I have found conversational agents are usually my last choice for a lot of use cases, because AI workflows especially are much easier to build, much easier to maintain, and actually much better suited for a lot of tasks, if not even the most tasks. And I think it's actually very clear. A handoff between sales and customer success is usually, and any handoff between any teams is usually a bit messy, and it usually revolves around, here are some notes, here's some emails, let's have a call, tell me what you've learned. It's all kind of messy. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's poor, depending on people involved. Wouldn't it be great if actually AI could help us speed this process up, right? Customer success shows to the end of the meeting with sales and goes, I have those notes that the agent, AI workflow documented for me based on the emails that we've exchanged, based on the transcripts we have. So tell me what I'm missing, right? Isn't that a much more productive meeting? So with process configuration mining, what have we learned? We uncovered how the org is configured to work today. We understood current automations, validations, and permissions. We identified which steps require judgment, interpretation, and which ones follow deterministic rules. And we identify ideas for AI workflows and or conversational agents. Again, in less than 2 minutes. So, power of agents, AI agents, and agent force is yours for the taking. Will you seize the opportunity? With process configuration mining and the agent finder on top of that, we have now the means to understand how our processes are configured today, how we execute our operations today. Even if you have no documentation, that's not a showstopper, it can be generated. And then on top of that, you can, again, with a click of a button, generate a bunch of ideas with explanation of how and why you could apply what type of AI reasoning to it. Now, these are all recommendations. You might decide, actually, I would rather build something else which combines these ideas, or maybe I want to move it into a slightly different direction. Great, but at least we have, a conversational starter and some ideas to get the conversation going.